Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third game in the series between TheViper and Beastyqt.
And a black screen.
Pause,
Whoop.
champ.
Pause, champ.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute.
Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. Everything is fine.
Everything is fine. Nothing is wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third game in the series between Beastyqt and TheViper.
Spawning it on the left side of the map, in the color blue with the Abbasid Dynasty, is Beastyqt. And on the right side, in red, we do have a Delhi player who is that Aussie.
That is the one, the only, TheViper. And this, of course, is Highview. Highview, a map known for its large amounts of stealth forest that it's got throughout the map. There are plenty of them. It means that it's a little bit more difficult to sort of aggress upon your opponent just because, well, it's kind of scary. You're going into the unknown. An interesting matchup that we've got here today as well. Not something that you see a lot on Highview. In fact, normally what you'd see on Highview is Rus. You would even be tempted to say a Rus mirror. But it's not going to be the case today.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that's for sure. Probably a lot of mind games involved in this one. We are going to have a Mosque out there early for TheViper. And, well, one of the nice things that Salami pointed out to us here in this pregame was that Viper's ornament on the town center is the large golden tower elephant. So, you know, he's a Delhi enjoyer.
He likes a little bit of elephants, a little bit of the elephants. But yeah, I think there's definitely some mind games that have gone into this matchup potentially. So when you think about it, right, Beastyqt doesn't mind Abbasid Dynasty versus Delhi. But I suspect he was probably hoping for Abbasid Dynasty against Rus. And then over on Viper's side, he was probably thinking the same thing. But then by the same token, it's Viper's home map. So maybe Beastyqt studied Viper and he said, well, hold on a minute. I know that you play Delhi on this map and I don't mind this matchup. So I'm just going to pick Abbasid here. And if you pick the Rus, I'm happy. And if you pick the Delhi, well, I'm very happy because the matchup is typically it's relatively favored towards the Abbasid Dynasty. And we've seen that obviously with nerfs coming through to the Delhi and buffs coming through to the Abbasid Dynasty. I'd still say pretty fair though at this point in time. The map in particular is what's going to make it very hard for the Delhi here because the map is it's a lot more linear than other maps. And the reason why I call it linear is because of the sacred site positioning. So as the Delhi, it's difficult for you because you have to fight for this central sacred site. And that's really only the site that you can fight over. Because if you're fighting for that site that's closest to your enemy, game's pretty much already over at that point. You've got that much map control. So it becomes a difficult game to play on this map for the Delhi Sultanate. So it definitely feels like Viper's going to be fighting out of a bit of a hard corner.
Yeah, that's a great point that you bring up indeed, that on this map, unlike, let's say, Lipany, you do have a very even distribution of those sacred sites, so it's difficult to control a lot of them at the same time. Not impossible, but much more difficult than, let's say, on Lipany, where you do have the probability of spawning two sacred sites much closer to each other. Looks like we're going to have just standard scouting over here by Beasty on the gold mine of Viper. He's not going to settle down for any kind of harassment. Standard Dome of Faith opening here for Viper, and Beasty's going to be operating with the economy wing. So, very standard opening by both of these players. The question becomes how Beasty is going to approach this matchup with the Abbasids. He has played this matchup before against Wham last week, and he lost it. So I'm curious to see how he changes things up. In that matchup, he played very eco-heavy. I think he even went 3 town centers maybe, and ended up losing to the cast stage push of the Delhi.
Yeah, I think it was 3 town centers, and he did, in the end, I think he had double the villager count. I think it was like 120 villagers versus 60, but it didn't even matter because he wasn't able to kill the elephants of the Delhi because the scholars are so damn good at healing. And the problem is that there's such great synergy between having a giant health pool and then having really good healing. You know, it's that classic reason why, Overwatch got boring. It's because your tanks would never die because they were constantly being healed. And it's the exact same case here with the Delhi. You're literally role-playing as Overwatch. But I guess the question is for me, with Beastyqt knowing that there is the potential to go up against that Overwatch composition, what is the chance that he starts thinking outside the box and goes, maybe I'll go for a fast Imperial here to go into bombards or go into, incendiary arrows to look to try and deal more damage?
Oh, that's an interesting one that you bring up over there. Fast Imperial on an open map. And I have very mixed feelings about that, because on one end, it's not as crazy as it sounds like, because, well, what other tools do you have against the elephants? On the other hand, it feels so suicidal to even think about a fast Imperial, especially with a civ like the Abbasids, right? The Abbasids can't accelerate their age-up process. It's a steady 145 that you have to wait per age. So the moment Viper is going to sense that you're trying to do something like that, you're just gonna get wiped off from the face of the earth. So I get the feel that Beasty has to look for answers elsewhere. Viper knows that Beasty's playing with 2 Town Centers, so Viper is gonna be aware and he's going to respond in kind. Still, the question becomes, what is Beasty going to do? I don't think a fast Imperial is a legitimate option over here for him, especially with such an exposed second Town Center.
Very exposed right there. That is, yeah, that's bordering on illegal. There's that much exposure. But now it looks like a horseman is going to be coming out onto the map, looking to try and dish out some damage. There's a scout out here going to be able to provide a little bit of cover here, but the villagers do look to try and get inside that town center. It's going to be awfully close as the first one makes its way back towards the town center. Second horseman already making its way out onto the field, and Beastyqt already starting to regret this town center location. He's like, why did I put it here? I should have put it on the back hunt. And the villagers, you can see them heading towards the corners. He's trying his best to keep them alive, and now going to be jumping inside the town center. 7 villagers managed to make it out alive, and Beastyqt is happy, healthy, and feeling good about himself.
Yeah, Beasty has to be alright with this one. I mean, given the circumstances, I think losing 1 villager is something that you can be satisfied with, especially given the fact that you're gonna have a second town center going for yourself. The question is, how is Viper going to respond to this? Because, as we discussed, that town center is disturbingly exposed, and it's actually right next to some stealth forest, so it might even be difficult to see if there is aggression coming that way. And, okay, those villagers... What's happening here for Viper?
I think he's taking them out to the berry bush. You can see they've all got their skirts on, but they also carry their berry bush or their berry baskets.
Boar aggroed.
Oh my lord, look at the boar destroying Viper! Oh my lord!
Viper didn't see because of the tree. I had to double check myself. I was like looking, is there a boar there? But yeah, there was a boar. And Viper didn't see, almost lost a scout to that.
That was a lot of damage. But speaking of losing scouts, it looks like Beastyqt going to be losing his scout in the middle. Going to be aggroing that boar once again. Beastyqt, his dying wish was to survive the boar, and the boar has now been procced, and Viper runs for dear life as that central sacred site does get captured up. Another horseman going to be running towards the middle. The sacred site going to be trying to be captured. Boar running back towards its neutral position.
No, Beasty, don't do it.
God, he pulls the boar again. He pulls the boar again. You can see Viper just having to run away. That sacred site slowly but steadily getting ticked over. But now that scout going to get cornered on the site, and you can see Viper trying his best to hold on. It's barely surviving.
Wait for it.
He goes for it the 4th round. It looks like the scout's going to go down, but now the scholar going to have to fall back. Beastyqt's bought himself enough time, and the boar's helping out. Look at the boar go.
Oh, Beast the boar whisperer, man. I mean, that is just brutal. He's denying that sacred site using the boar. Ooh, what a chat.
Wow, this is a very appropriate occasion to talk about somebody's mother, but I'm just going to avoid it for now. It's 2 sacred sites captured up for the Viper. That's a great start, and he's going for the 3rd one. In fact, he's pretty close to capturing that 3rd one. Doesn't manage to make it, unfortunately. The scout going to be sacrificing itself there.
Ooh, a lot of things going on at the same time over here. Beasty apparently having a bit of a trouble with the wildlife now himself, getting that wolf killed. Ooh, horseman numbers looking pretty good now though for Viper, and he has control over 2 sacred sites. As you mentioned before, this town center is still being quite exposed. We could see Viper slowly starting to take control of things right now, because Beasty's only 9 villagers ahead. Actually, it's 7 villagers, make it 7 bill. But the sacred sites are swinging this heavily in the favor of Viper right now.
Yeah, this is a big thing for Viper. The fact that he's got 2 out of 3 sacred sites, I'm already impressed. He's done a great job in managing to establish himself. Oh my god, he's got a second down center. Oh, look at this. Oh, and it's Viper, and he's playing Delhi. You know what this means, right?
Smart.
It means that he's thinking about Imperial. He's already thinking about Imperial. His game plan for this is already coming to fruition. He's going big. He's not even going home. Scholar's now moving out, looking to help out with the healing. All of the horsemen going to be coming in on the front line, but Villagers going to be able to jump inside that outpost and provide a little bit more cover fire. The Scholars with their arms up in the air, waving them around like they just don't care. But still, there's a lot of horsemen here for Beastyqt. The numbers not looking pretty right now for the Viper as they continue to decline. Beastyqt continuing to push out. He's got double-digit numbers out and continues rallying out towards this central sacred site. Viper looking like he might be in a little bit of trouble at this early stage of the game.
Yeah, Viper is getting pushed back a tiny bit over here. You see, he is still maintaining control over that sacred site when the tower is perfectly placed. It's just enough to push away Beasty from that location. Beasty still trying to decap that sacred site. Viper, beautiful micro with those units to dance back and forth. Camel Archers making their debut on the battlefield though, and that's going to swing these battles even more so in the favor of Beasty. And this is getting concerning for Viper because if he loses the sacred sites, I don't think he can facilitate mass production of units with efficient production and the second town center at the same time.
What if he's got a castle age, though? It is the House of Learning coming down for the Viper at this 11th minute into the game. He's got all the Age 1 up, or rather Age 2 upgrades. I mean, he's got all the Age 1 upgrades as well. But he's got all the Age 2 upgrades that have come through. Everything except for that +1 ranged attack. Obviously, with no ranged units, it doesn't really change too much. But now it looks like Viper going to be in a bit of a difficult position as he continues to face losses on this front line. Second outpost going to be going down shortly, and you can see the Beastyqt knows that there is a delicious collection of villagers inside this outpost, and he wants to absolutely eat them for breakfast.
Yeah, that's exactly it over here. Viper trying to send in some reinforcements, but that could easily be 4 villagers getting taken care of. You see, Viper is going to send in his horsemen trying to deal with the Camel Archer. The Camel might actually go down over here. Villagers won't make it out alive though. And it looks like the Camel Archer is going to be the only prize that Viper is getting from this. Viper is up to Castle Age, but this is a signal for Beasty for one thing. This is a signal telling Beasty, I have to push on now and just go full feudal.
Beastyqt now going to be struggling to try and take any further position in this game. He's obviously playing as the Abbasid dynasty, which is able to build siege with its infantry, but one thing to note, he's got no infantry. He has only got horsemen and camels, and that means that if there is a ram to be seen, it is not going to be an Abbasid ram, rather it will be a Delhi ram. But now continuing to push out, we see him down around the south side of the base of Viper. Viper actually sitting quite heavily on that stone as well, so could potentially spoil a keep for the Viper. But now heading around towards his position, Beastyqt is going to realize, hold on a minute, there's a second town center here. The Knight makes its way out onto the field. Viper heading back towards the town center. He realizes that this raid's a little bit too much for those town centers to handle. And as a result, the villagers make their way back in. But now Viper, once again, going to be struggling out here as he actually just looks to evacuate. He's not even going to put the villagers in the outpost. That's where the critical mass has been established here for Beasty.
Yeah, he would take down that tower anyway, so might as well save the villagers out there. Although Beasty is going to know that there has to be villagers around. He's going to decap the sacred site. Beasty is going to be up to Castle Age in only 2 minutes though, because keep in mind, he can't accelerate his Castle Age progress, but he's denying Viper off from the berries. And one thing that's concerning for Viper is that food per minute is dropping quite dramatically, down to 475 and continues to drop. Viper won't have the food to make those Castle Age units.
Yeah, we can see that they're slowly but steadily building up. He's got all the upgrades coming through, but only a single Scholar and 2 men-at-arms in queue at the moment. So things not looking pretty for the Viper, and the Sacred Site manages to stay just barely alive. And Viper now coming through with a single men-at-arms. Unfortunately for him, not going to be the case. You so cheeky, Beasty. You are so cheeky. Oh, you are so cheeky. You don't do him like this. Don't do him like this.
Actually, Viper might punish Beasty for that. Speaking of which, Beasty is going to start losing villagers left and right because all those berry villagers were exposed and defenseless. All that villager lead that Beasty has had might be gone, and in that case, Viper's gonna be in a great position.
Viper now heading towards that gold mine as well. There were plenty of villagers out there, a couple of camels looking to defend those villagers. Indeed, they're going to be falling back, but Viper looking to just siege down that mining camp. It's that mining camp in particular. Sacred Site neutralized. Yep. Over towards that east side, and look at the forces coming out for Beastyqt. He says, "G'day, mate. How you going?" Look at that. Look at the way that they just continue to march across the map. Beautiful micro coming out from Beastyqt, focusing on multiple aspects. Viper's got enough for a keep, though. He could go for a forward keep on that second town center of Beastyqt and absolutely deny it, force it out of the game.
Can you finish that keep though? Look at Viper's army. It's not necessarily spectacular. Only 5 knights, 7 men-at-arms over there. And you have a couple of camel archers that do pierce the armor quite effectively. Beastyqt up to Castle Age now. He's going to get his Castle Age upgrades for the camel archers and the horsemen. And if you look at the brute force numbers, it's still looking better for Beastyqt. Once those Castle Age upgrades are in, his army is not as bad as it looks.
Viper now picking up relics as well. We see 2 relics on the way in. Viper moving out towards this this berry patch with 28 villagers, as you do. He's struggling a bit at this point in time, but now a single horseman does finally go down over on that sacred site, and more counterattacks coming out. Viper trying his best to hold on to this position, but it looks like he's discovered what was lying on his own side of the map. Indeed, it was this forward position from Beastyqt with it. 5 villagers inside this outpost, going to be going down, highly likely, to those men-at-arms. And Viper doing a good job to keep his head above water, but the military numbers here are looking quite healthy for Beasty.
Yeah, this is a tricky game here for Viper, because keep in mind, he's playing 2 town centers right now, but he's running out of berries. Beasty, he was able to get some extra food from Viper's side, and most importantly, Beasty's army, that is looking scary. Camel archer numbers increasing. And those camel archers, they scale really well once you build up some good numbers. So suddenly this army here for Beasty, this is looking scary. And Viper's army right now, men-at-arms, lancers, that's going to struggle against what Beasty has on the field.
He's going to have to fall back from this position, but you can see him just getting cleaned up completely. Still yet to have that forced march in. If he'd had the Delhi unique forced march right now, he'd be able to sprint away, and Viper just turns around and says, well, I'm going to lose these units anyway, so I might as well take some of them with me. But now Viper picking up a couple villagers that were over on his side of the map. We can see that a single lancer is going to be all that he needs to clean those ones up. Villager count at the moment, 73 for Beastyqt, 72 for Beastyqt. He's losing villagers somewhere. He's bleeding them. In fact, it's that keep in the middle that's taken them out. And Beasty put a mill down on that central. He's so cheeky, isn't he?
Oh,
He's
man.
really going to the next level here.
Oh, man. Almost in is the Castle Age Camel Archer upgrade, though, so that army is going to become even more formidable. On the other side, Viper still operating with Lancers. I wonder if he's going to start adding Elephant Archers, though. Looks like there is a 3rd relic for Viper being brought in. Actually is able to get it home. You see that Imam from Beasty was just a little too late to the party. And indeed, there is the first Tower Elephant. Problem for Viper, though, is lack of mobility. His army is disturbingly slow compared to the high mobility army that Beasty has. And this is how Beasty has to play this one. Just full-on mobility and raid game.
I like the way that Beasty's playing it as well. No infantry here. This is something that we see different from him. In the first game that we saw Beastyqt play in this matchup, he went for a very heavy infantry-based focus. He was spearmen. He was archers. That was the big thing. But here he goes for the tower elephants. Viper goes for the tower elephants. And Beastyqt responds. Just a complete mass of cavalry.
Nice raids by Viper over here. He's definitely putting some pressure on Beasty's eco as well. The problem is that Viper is also losing a couple of these Lancers, and on the other side, Beast is barely using units. I don't think that he lost more than like 1 or 2 units in the last few minutes, so he's slowly building that mass up over there. And yes, you have 2 tower elephants right now, but look at what he's facing. 28 horsemen, 13 camel archers. That's a scary force here from Beasty. Something that can outmaneuver the elephants, and Viper, he's forced to chase with those slow and clumsy elephants.
Yeah, but just remember when push comes to shove that these guys are going to be absolutely very difficult to push around because they're very, very tanky. But a nice little raid up towards the north. Viper once again catching Beastyqt with his pants down. And these villagers will go down. I'm curious as to whether Beasty's got his textile upgrade, but I can't help but feel it doesn't really make much of a difference when you've got 2 lancers just killing absolutely everything.
Yeah, he doesn't have textiles out there for his villagers. Kind of a problem, but as he pointed out, the villagers would have died anyways to those lancers. Now big push coming in on the berries and the gold mine at the same time, though. Viper is going to start losing villagers everywhere, all across his base.
Yeah, but he doesn't care. The villagers just continue gathering up the berries. And a Wallalo goes off over on the west side of the map somewhere. I hear it, but I don't see it. I just know that it's probably coming in the corner. Indeed it is. Scout going to be kept alive. It is staying alive, and now those elephants going to be coming out in force. Looking to dish out the damage. Not a lot of scholars here, but you can see he's ready to pop them out of the buildings in the event that things get awry. And now he continues to push through onto the wood line, looking to try and take out as many villagers as possible. Viper down to 66 villagers right now. Beastyqt on 80.
Oh, Beasty's sacrificing a ton of army over here to do a ton of damage to Viper, but I'm just not sure if the trade was good enough here for Beasty. You pointed out that for Beasty, it's all about the ability, or the inability rather, to take direct engagements against those elephants, and he has to play with the raids. He just lost so much army. He did some damage to Viper, but is this sufficient damage to justify losing half of your army here?
I can't help but feel it probably wasn't. Viper now begins to push, and you can see him turning his attention towards the enemy base. Those elephants looked intent on going towards that enemy base, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing them smashing down the town center of Beastyqt that sits on that front side. Beastyqt on 84 villagers at the moment. The Knights going to be trying to make their way away. More units coming in to reinforce over on this western flank, and Viper is slowly but steadily heading towards the base of his opponent.
Yeah, Viper is slowly creeping up. There's going to be a defensive castle out here for Beasty, so he's fortifying his defensive positions over here, and that's going to slow down those elephants as well. Trebuchet out as well for Beasty, so he has plans to push Viper's base, try to take down the defensive cost that Viper has. Nice little raid coming in as well. Viper down by 14 villagers, but of course he does have the relic. And look at that, Beasty. He's preparing for late game. You know it's happening because he's dropping those walls.
Yeah, it is time, ladies and gentlemen. The walls are beginning. The no-wall challenge lasted for 21 minutes, but it can only last so long. Farm transition has come through for Beastyqt. We can see right there 29 farms being displayed on our screens. The men-at-arms now going to be making their way behind enemy lines together with Lancers. A nice little raid gets cleaned up on the backside. Viper looking pretty strong. He's got 74 villagers up against the 88 of Beastyqt. So the only difference between these guys is barely a handful of villagers. Consider the fact Viper's got 3 of the relics. Not a bad amount. And the second or the 4th relic is still out on the map somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where it is. I suspect probably in the base of Beastyqt though.
Yeah, it could be dropped somewhere where it's just overshadowed. Oh yeah, there it is. But Viper now pushing up with the elephants here, and he's got 4 tower elephants, 10 healers as well, and that is enough to heal those elephants for a long time here. Elephants taking a lot of damage though from the castle fire.
Yeah, they're going to be careful. They're going to be careful not to spend too much time under the keep without those scholars standing nearby. One thing that we've seen from the Viper is he loves to mass up those scholars. And in this position, he sees that keep coming out and he says, well, you know what, this keep, it's going to buy Beastyqt a little bit of time, and we will allow it. We will allow that keep to come up, because remember, Viper is building up his scholars slowly. He's on 10 scholars at the moment. No scholars in queue at the moment for him, but that's still a pretty decent amount of scholars, and he's going to be able to utilize them effectively in the Madrasa in the event he does go to the Imperial Age. One of the things he often talks about is just being patient with the Delhi. Go Imperial, but just wait for your upgrades. That's the key. That's what he says. Let's see if it plays out for him.
Yeah, we're up to 5 elephants as Viper is reaching that critical mass over here. Trebuchet war commencing in the middle, and you see Viper is making villagers on those keeps now. He has finished village fortresses, so Viper can add some extra eco using his keeps. But what's more important is that he's still thinking about finishing off that castle from Beasty. Beasty notably has that sacred site out there, but it looks like the castle with the spring golden placement is going to have enough firepower to discourage that push with the elephants.
Yeah, the Trebuchet is going to be working their way through it. We can see he's actually got the Scholar inside the Siege Workshop, which enables him to train up those Trebuchets, just double the speed of his enemy. So basically, going to be making or cranking out these Trebuchets at twice the speed, which is not too bad considering his enemy has only got 2 Trebuchets out. So Viper slowly but steadily winning the Siege War.
Yeah, Viper is slowly winning this one, and we've been talking about, the Delhi late game. It's one of the more controversial things. Some people think it's rather weak, some people think it's rather powerful, but hang on, you know what else could be powerful? Camel Riders, because we got quite a lot of those on the battlefield.
They begin to come out, heading underneath this keep. A little bit of a dangerous fight right now. Spearmen as well working in tow. You can see the Scholars coming out, looking to try and repair up these elephants before they die and before they go down. Trebuchets on the backside look like they might get sieged down as well. Viper trying his best to hold on in this position. Elephants looking very strong as the hold indeed comes through. The Spearmen looking great. The raid gets cleaned up on the south side of the base, and so many camels are dead on the ground. Viper looking very strong in this position.
Oh man, I mean, Beasty's trying to find an answer to those elephants right now, and the camel archer, or the camel riders rather, are just not that one, because all of those got taken down at least he buys himself some time over here, but he's struggling to kill those elephants, and that's the problem that you're facing. And those elephant numbers slowly increasing over there. Beasty now coming in with boiling oil himself. TheViper just non-stop shelling that keep, which means that Beasty either repairs it, and he's going to consume a ton of resources doing so, or he's going to give up on that position. But look at that, Beasty setting himself up long term. He's holding off the northern side of the map. This game has potential to go very long at this pace.
This is something that I talked about earlier. It's not necessarily that you have to go for a fast Imperial, but if your enemy builds up a critical mass of elephants, which is happening right now, we've seen Viper reaching 7 elephants, 13 scholars, that you have almost no choice but to go Imperial because you have no tools to deal with this mass of elephants. They don't die. They kill everything. Your only response is some form of bombard or some form of high damage unit like a hand cannoneer as an example, which could deal with it because these tanks do not die. This is the Overwatch comp.
Yeah, and the numbers are just increasing rapidly. One thing that you can do though is flank around and raid. Viper is going to face that very soon indeed, with the camel riders and the camel archers moving in. No reaction from here from Viper actually, losing like 15 villagers.
It's everything is okay. I mean, the house is burning down all around him, but everything is okay. A bit of sleep, but now a keep going to be coming down over on Viper's side. Beastyqt looking to get aggressive, going to be able to secure up a stone mine as well as that gold mine. He'll be extra happy with this, but now Viper pushing towards the opposite side of the map, forcing those villagers back. He's going to be careful not to lose that one single elephant. It's probably going to be going down. Indeed, it does. The consequence of not pushing out with scholars in tow.
Yeah, one of those elephants got taken down over there. The other one, he could easily find himself surrounded by the camels and camel archers as well. And Viper has to respect that critical mass that Beasty has, because that is a second elephant that could bite the dust pretty fast. Viper is actually going to call off his forces. The spring golden placement on the castle finishes off a second elephant. The third one, that is going to go down before the healing from the scholars comes into play. And Viper, in a blink of an eye, he just lost 3 elephants.
Yeah, things are not going well for the Viper now. All of a sudden, things are falling apart. The camels are going to be doing a great job of cleaning up these elephants, and now Viper is getting absolutely shredded over the map. He's losing villagers on the south side. He's losing gold on the north side. Elephants over on the west side, or rather up the north as well. And at the same time, it feels like he's getting absolutely pulled apart. His villager count has started to dwindle. He's now 20 villagers, or rather 30 villagers behind Beastyqt. And that is not a good position to be in. Not against someone like Beasty, that is for sure.
Yeah, especially because Viper could be running low on gold in the next few minutes if he can't break out of his base. He's very much cornered in here. You see, he's got a pretty decent resource bank now. He's adding some horsemen over here to help his elephant army out there. But Beasty, on the other hand, we know that he loves siege. Reddit hates siege, so there's gonna be controversy with this game. We all know that. Beasty, he's going to head very heavily towards the siege direction.
Looks like Viper now going to be able to clean up this keep on the north side. Beastyqt continuing to wall up. He's got a palisade wall that's going down, but then behind that, he's got stone walls that he is looking to put up as well. At the same time, Viper continues to turn his attention towards the emplacements of his enemy, with a keep over on this eastern flank is going to be going down. The trebuchets of Viper looking very strong, safe, and secure over on that eastern flank. He's got to be careful, though, not to lose them, not to overextend himself. He's doing a great job as he slowly but steadily cleans up this map. And now Spearman going to be heading out. Phalanx ability. We're going to be forcing back these camels. And it looks like Men-at-Arms actually going to be coming out for our Abbasid play.
Yeah, that's actually a great response to all those spearmen out there. Beasty reading that book clearly, and he's going to clean up most of these spears. The camels will fall, but on the other side, the elephants are likely breaking in. They broke through the palisades, and I don't think that the stone walls are complete in time. And that is probably the bigger source of concern. Indeed, the elephants will just smash their way through the walls, and right now that wall looks more like a graveyard with all those dead bodies of villagers lying next to it.
Yeah, and all the horsemen are going to be able to make it back behind enemy lines now, and that causes more difficulty for Beastyqt. He's sitting on 197 population at the moment, so his resources have got nowhere else to go but up. It's highly likely that he looks towards a potential Imperial age in the near future, and then looks to try and deal with these elephants in a little bit more of a easier
civilized
because at the moment it's very difficult.
Yeah, I was hoping that you're going to say something like in a more civilized manner.
Civilized with explosives. But now we've got some real problems because Beastyqt is looking to push out towards the Viper. You can see there's plenty of men-at-arms out here. Also, Springalds coming up the rear as well with the gear. And those Trebuchets going to be making a run for it. The Scholars are all out and ready to play. Horsemen coming out as well. Raids behind the scene. The Viper is looking to close in upon his opponent. Crossbows are coming out as well, but you can't help but wonder exactly what for. There's no armored units out here. A lot of people look at those elephants and they think, damn, those things have got a lot of armor on them. Yeah, they do, but they ain't heavy. They don't get countered by the crossbow.
Yeah, the crossbow is a bit of a surprising choice over here for Beasty. Still, pretty high base damage on those units, so it could be like a temporary response from Beasty, just trying to get something that deals with those elephants out there. He's also high on the Springald count, and that many Springolds could actually pose a danger to all those elephants. Beasty working his way towards Imperial though, but does he have the time to get there? Because Viper is now unleashing the wrath of those elephants, also sniping the siege weapons with the leftover cavalry he has.
Yeah, he's going absolutely ham. Look at the elephants dealing out so much damage here, continuing to follow up all of the units that he's got on the front side, forcing Beastyqt out and down here. Now a bunch of infantry going to be coming out, and Beastyqt looking to try and hold on, but at the same time, Viper's got Scholars in the rear. You can see them being focused down by the Springalds. A great job by him to do that. And now all those Scholars going to be going down. A single Scholar remains on the backside with his hands up, and I suspect his life is going to be very short-lived. Still, Viper continues to push in underneath this keep. The keep goes down. The crossbows come forward. The Viper looks to finish off the game, is trying his best. There's a monastery on the front line. It looks like it might be a bit out of position. If that goes down, it's going to be 200 gold a minute that is gone over towards his enemy, and Viper is looking very strong with this push.
And Viper is mixing in the Horsemen now, and the Horsemen, they will just wipe out all of those crossbows, although Beasty's adding Spearmen once again. And Beasty, he has the resources to go into Imperial. He wanted to go Imperial, but he had to queue up some more units to deal with this. If he cancels those units, there's a chance for him still to go into Imperial. I feel like Beasty held off this assault, and he's going to live to see another day. Towers now coming up here as well for Beast to secure that gold mine. Viper lost all those Scholars, and he needs to get those back onto the battlefield to keep those elephants alive. And for Beasty, he just needs a little bit of an eco balancing here to get to Imperial.
This was a super smart play from Beastyqt. So one of the things that he had so much trouble dealing with against this Overwatch composition last week was that the Scholars weren't able to be killed because of their health pools being so high. So one of the suggestions was make about 4 or 5 Springalds and use them to snipe through the Scholars' health pool. And that way you execute the Scholars with no chance that they're going to be able to heal themselves up. And that's exactly what he's done. You can see he's got Springalds out despite absolutely the only siege coming out from the Viper being Trebuchets, which don't really serve as a significant threat to his base because he's very easily able to aggress upon his opponent. The issue is always going to be in that pushback. And those Springalds help out so much when it comes to that push because it enables him to kill those Scholars before they're able to do any meaningful healing.
That's exactly that long range. 10 range in Castle Age is a lot, so you can just park your Springolds at the back line and just snipe down the Scholars. And once you're done with the Scholars, I mean, those Springolds still pack a punch. 5-6 Springolds, they can do a decent amount of damage even to the elephants out there. So indeed, sniping down the Scholars and just generally using the Spain rolls is something that helped Beasty a lot. Beasty going up to Imperial though with the military wing. Viper starts to be on a timer here, but he's pushing up with the elephants, and Beasty, at some point, he's gonna have to take the fight against all those elephants.
Yeah, this elephant rampage has got us come to an end eventually. Whether it's going to be with Beastyqt conceding or killing the elephants, that's going to be his only 2 options. But now that Imperial Age comes through, Viper finds a nice little raid over on this stone mine up towards the northern side. Villager count for Beastyqt going to be dropping below that 110 mark. Viper does take the villager lead now. And this late game, often you'd be riding Delhi off in the late game as a civilization that doesn't really stand much of a chance once their enemy gets to the Imperial Age. But remember, Viper makes non-stop Scholars. He has got them coming out for days.
And Beasty is losing villagers non-stop. Like, he lost like 10 on the north. Now he's losing a couple on the south as well. He could actually drop below 100 villagers here. So he's losing villagers left and right, and that is getting concerning for him. He's getting some towers up here to try and deny resources from the opponent, but he's gonna have to pressure Viper's base with army rather than just villagers, because his villagers, they're not going to live very long against an army of elephants like that. A lot of low HP vills. They might actually
it's gonna be a bad time. It's always going to be a bad time when there are more elephants than there are villagers.
Oh,
and look at the
Viper.
crossbows sprinting through at max speed right there. They hit 88 miles an hour. Those things were running so damn fast, and they managed to make their way out of the villages, but they just run into defensive line just non-stop.
But Imperial Age is in here for Beasty, and he's got a pretty decent power spike over here because Viper yet to reach Imperial, in fact yet to start working towards Imperial, and now you see those bombards appear on the battlefield. Beasty opened up with 3 bombards straight away, and now it could easily be just 4 bombards with the Phalanx Spearman support. I can see that working out for Beasty, and Viper, he's soon going to face the wrath of the Imperial Age army of Beasty.
Yeah, so I think the key here up against elephants in the late game, number 1 is bombards, but number 2 is you need to get greased axles, which is an upgrade that increases the movement speed of your siege. And by getting that, it basically means that you're able to outrun the elephants because the elephants are so damn slow. So you can shoot, scoot, and then scoot, and just do that non-stop, and the elephants are never going to be able to catch up to you. But now we can see Viper breaking through once again. It looks like the Spearman's going to do a great job of just cleaning up this little raid, but just forcing idle time and forcing APM away from his opponent. A great job there by him.
Yeah, that is definitely a decent raid over there by Viper. Beasty is down to 96 villagers, quite a lot of inefficiency in his eco as well. And Beasty, most notably, he's down to 300 gold per minute. That is coming from the Sacred side and the 2 relics he has. He has no gold miners operational right now. And that is something that he needs to change very soon, because Viper, right now he's stripping the map barren of gold. You see, he still has 1100 gold per minute, and that is something that only partially is contributed to by the Sacred side and the relic that he holds.
Viper looking to try and get through here. The Imperial Age is going to be coming through. I suspect it's going to be Palace of the Sultan that is going to be coming through for him. We'll take a look and see his base and find out exactly what he's got. He's up to 16 scholars at the moment. Oh, it's the Hussar Academy coming out for the Viper. What is that? Isn't that landmark still bugged? I'm pretty sure this landmark had like 6 different bugs. So basically the way that it works is when you reset a tech, you're meant to get more food, but then it will just, wait, is it giving food already? He hasn't even finished it and it's giving food. There, throw another bug on the list. There it is, boys.
Well, he hasn't finished. No, that's fine. It's fine.
Viper is a known bug abuser. You heard it here first, folks. But now he's hit that Imperial Age. He's got, how many scholars has he got? 16 scholars. So basically, he just needs to survive now for the next 3 or 4 minutes. But a beautiful little sandwich comes through on the front side. Horseman sandwich, nothing more delicious than that.
Oh man, a lot of horsemen went down, but also was a bombard destroyed there. Still, Viper needs a lot of time to finish those upgrades. Sure thing, he's got a lot of scholars, 16 to be precise, but it's going to take some time until you finish those upgrades. And Beasty knows that now he's on a timer, he needs to go, and he's pushing right now, opening up fire against that one keep out there. Viper yet to grab his Imperial Age upgrades.
You can see them all coming through on the queue, though. We see elite horsemen, elite spearmen, elite men-at-arms, elite crossbows. He's got the crossbow upgrades for the elephants coming through, mangonels, adjustable crossbars. He's got absolutely everything, but look at the time it's taking. 9 minutes for these upgrades. I thought he had a lot of scholars, but it turns out he barely had any. Now he's really starting to suffer as these bombards look to lay down the heat upon these units below the Viper's base. And Viper looks to try and hold on in this position, but Beastyqt intent on causing havoc on the other side of the map.
And he is going to cause a lot of havoc over here. He's got a lot of firepower with the Springles, with the Mangonels and the Bombards. And now Viper is unleashing his army. The elephants are marching up, but there is so much as they can do here against that many Bombards. Can Viper do any damage here, or are those elephants just gonna be taken down by the Bombards? Seems like the elephants are going down at a very rapid pace.
Yeah, the first elephant now falling down on the south side. Viper continues to push up. Elephant's going to be trying, and a couple of horsemen on the backside managing to come through, taking out the first Springwood. Second Springwood going to get focused down. The elephants for the Viper look to try and hold on. He's down to 150 population. Meanwhile, Beastyqt is sitting on 189, continuing to pump out units non-stop. Hand cannoneers coming in for the Viper. But good game gets called. The Viper taps out. The elephant march is finally put to a rest, and Beastyqt claims the 3rd victory of the series and moves on to match point.
Oh man, 2 games in a row at the beginning for Beasty, and then he closes out the 3rd one as well. What a show once again. The timing was just perfect, and Viper did the right things. Viper healed up the elephants. It's just the perfect timing for Beasty. He knows that it takes so much time for Viper to get those upgrades, and Beasty needs to use that power spike. The fight was perfect. The mangonels focused down the scholars. Scholars gone. There was no healing for the elephants, and the bombards just did the rest. Viper taps out. Beasty moves on to the match point over here.
Match point. Wow. I didn't think in a Beastyqt set the match point would be coming this early. I feel like we've just woken up, barely gotten out of bed, and here we are. The day is barely upon us, and Beastyqt is already at match point. He has been slicing Viper up in these games. It has been a very tough position for Viper to hold on, and now we head into the fourth game with match point. Absolute insane stuff right there. I tell you what, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed with that.